Published by the International.
The first time that levels of global poverty will go up.
The scope of this pandemic is unprecedented.
More and more communities are welcoming refugees, and
women are at the forefront of positive social change.
We cannot ignore racism any longer.
that the worst effects of climate change can still be avoided.
More droughts, more floods, more forest fires.
So, it all just feels so hopeless.
Really? It's not all bad. There are people doing good things in the world.
I know, but look at all the injustice and suffering. Do you really think our actions make a difference?
Sorry I'm late.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, nice flowers.
I know. Some kids are giving out flowers to everyone.
Cool.
We were just discussing the state of the world and how it can feel as though our actions are too small to impact the bigger picture. But every act of service we engage in, however small, contributes to the transformation of ourselves and the world around us. Let's keep watching.
Although the world has been experiencing much turmoil and turbulence, there is a growing consciousness of humanity's interdependence and interconnectedness as one human family. In over 100,000 localities around the world, individuals and communities are drawing inspiration from Baha'u'llah's vision of the oneness of humanity. A vision that requires a transformation in the very structures and relationships of society. As millions of people strive to translate Baha'u'llah's teachings of unity and justice into action, a profound advance in culture is beginning to occur. Individuals see themselves as protagonists of social change and seek to contribute to the betterment of their neighborhoods and villages. Communities, characterized by a dynamic pattern of worship and service, are promoting the spiritual and material well-being of all. Children are being raised to develop their inherent spiritual qualities and to appreciate the diversity and unity of the peoples of the world. Young people are being empowered to navigate a crucial stage of their lives and to channel their energies towards building a just future. Families are experiencing greater unity, and groups of families are coming together to strengthen local community life. Relationships between individuals, communities, and institutions are being defined by cooperation and reciprocity. All these efforts aim at bringing humanity closer to the peaceful and prosperous global civilization envisioned by Baha'u'llah.
All right. Hi, everyone. Aloha. Welcome. I am so excited. My list of participants is giant, and there are many teams joining, so it's probably even more giant than what it looks like here. So, so excited. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so we're going to start off with some devotions. The youth team is preparing devotions, and last night the youth got together and recorded a video of a song, and then there's also some youth today upstairs in a team, and they're going to share some prayers and readings after the song. So, oh, we're not starting that one again. Here we go.
O thou servant of God, do not grieve at the afflictions and calamities that have befallen thee. All calamities and afflictions have been created for man so that he may spurn this mortal world, a world to which he is much attached. When he experiences severe trials and hardships, then his nature will recoil and he will desire the eternal realm, a realm which is sanctified from all afflictions and calamities. Such is the case with the man who is wise. He shall never drink from a cup which is at the end distasteful, but on the contrary, he will seek the cup of pure and limpid water. He will not taste the honey that is mixed with poison. Praise thou God that thou hast been tried and hast experienced such a test. Be patient and grateful. Turn the face of the divine kingdom and strive that thou mayest acquire merciful characteristics, mayest become illumined and acquire the attributes of the kingdom of the Lord. Endeavor to become indifferent to the pleasures of this world and to its comfort, to remain firm and steadfast in the covenant and promulgate the cause of God. This is the cause of the exaltation of man, the cause of his glory and his salvation.
O God, my God, aid thou thy trusted servants to have loving and tender hearts. Help them to spread amongst all the nations of the earth a light of guidance that cometh from the company on high. Verily, thou art the strong, the powerful, the mighty, the also doer, the ever giving. Verily, thou art the generous, the gentle, the tender, the most bountiful.
My God, my adored one, my King, my desire, what tongue can voice my thanks to thee? I was heedless, thou didst awaken me. I had turned back from thee, thou didst graciously aid me to turn towards thee. I was as one dead, thou didst quicken me with the water of life. I was withered, thou didst revive me with the heavenly stream of thine utterance, which hath flowed forth from the pen of the All-Merciful. O divine providence, all existence is begotten by thy bounty. Deprive it not of the waters of thy generosity, neither do thou withhold it from the ocean of thy mercy. I beseech thee to aid and assist me at all times and under all conditions, and speak from the heaven of thy grace, thine ancient favor. Thou art in truth the Lord of bounty and the sovereign of the kingdom of eternity. Baha'u'llah.
All right, thank you so much, youth. I don't know if anybody else could see, but on my screen, it looked like there was the crepuscular rays coming in from the window shining on them, and it just kind of made it all the much better. Okay, so let me do this one more time. And you can see the screen now, right? Okay. All right. So here is our the things we're gonna do for today. So we're gonna start with some reflections. We will reflect on the last cycle that we are just ending now. And then we have some guidance. We're gonna go to some breakout rooms and then start some planning. So we are just gonna head right into it. I believe that Saba is up first.
Hello guys. So this is a quotation from the Universal House of Justice, a paragraph dated 17 January 2003 that helps us think about the purpose of the cluster reflection meeting. I don't know if anyone is willing to read it. I can, but I'd rather have someone else read it. So if anyone wants to read it, how about Artin, do you want to read it?
Yes, I would love to.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were there. I could only see.
I was right around the corner.
Okay. Maybe we could all like show our screens and show our lovely faces. We love seeing all of the people. That would be really cool.
Thanks, Artin.
Quote from book 10.2 about this space. From a message dated 17 January 2003, written by the Universal House of Justice. Meetings of consultation held at the cluster level serve to raise awareness of possibilities and generate enthusiasm. Here, free from the demands of formal decision-making, participants reflect on experience gained, share insights, explore approaches, and acquire a better understanding of how each can contribute to achieving the aim of the plan. In many cases, such interaction leads to consensus on a set of short-term goals, both individual and collective. Learning in action is becoming the outstanding feature of the emerging mode of operation.
Awesome, thank you, Artine. So yeah, we thought that this paragraph would be helpful to start studying this paragraph first, because it just helps us really think about why we're here and how we can contribute to achieving the aim of the plan is, like what we're all trying to do. And it talks about leading to consensus and having learning in action being the outstanding feature of the emerging mode of operation. So yeah, this kind of just gives us just a glimpse of the purpose of the reflection space and how we can take what we learn and reflect on here back into our own teams, into our own neighborhoods, into our own networks, and further reflect and expand.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Saba and Artine. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to start reflecting. So do you guys remember like 3 months ago at our last cluster reflection meeting, we shared that we were going to start using this thing called a Padlet. And I'm going to put the link in the chat for everybody to it. So if you will click on that link in the chat, I'm also going to share what it looks like on the screen. You guys can see that, right? So this is our Padlet. It was heavily being updated and added things during the expansion phase. So what we're going to do right now, do you see this little plus in the corner here? When you hover over it, it turns into a little pencil. And when you click on that, it will allow you to add something. So we want to add things that have happened since the expansion phase, or if you forgot to add it during the expansion phase, you can add that too. But during that consolidation phase, there was obviously more things happening. So if you want to please add in what has happened for you guys, things that we would like to share with the rest of the cluster. Please go ahead and start writing that in now. You can also share pictures if you have pictures, anything you want. You can even share a link to something. So please go ahead and add that in. We're going to take about, I think, what time is it? 10:20. We've got 5 minutes, y'all. Cool. All right, we are like exactly on time and I'm very proud of that. All right, so while you guys are writing your own posts, we are going to share a little bit about what was done during the expansion phase. Most notably, of course, Artine and Nava expanding their nucleus with this beautiful new baby. So there was lots of things happening. It looks like we have a lot of things with the youth happening. So over here, there was an existing children's class gained a co-teacher. I believe that is Sarmad over here, joined Donia. And we had some starting children's classes. We had some youth going on home visits. And during the institute over here, we have a picture of some dance lessons. Let's see if I can click on that and make it bigger. There we go. They, I think one of the neighbors came over and taught how to do some Indian dancing, which was fun. This was the youth devotional 2 months ago. We've had a couple since then as well. You saw the video from the devotions. We have somebody who made some cake and took it with a note over to a neighbor for Baha'u'llah's birthday. Some more stuff. We've got some feast Zoom screen sharing. Meaningful coffee shop conversations. Had a wonderful and uplifting conversation with an old friend today about the spirit of Baha'u'llah's teachings and how we can continue to live a life of service to the cause. Oh, there you got it. Okay. And we've got we invited some of our neighbors, colleagues, and friends to join together for an evening of hot pot, meaningful conversations and games. Copious amount of meaningful conversations and teaching the faith took place. Invitations to the centenary were given, lots of laughter and fellowship. Yes, we had the centenary during this cycle. Let's see what else. Oh, things are being added. Yay. Okay, so it says, here's a picture from the Why Worry Nucleus team meeting where we discussed about conferences and the regularity of our meetings. That is wonderful. I'm going to give that a little heart. Did you know that you guys can like these posts and you can make comments? So if you're like, wow, I really love that. This sounds wonderful. You can add comments and let them know that it sounds wonderful. Or ask them questions and maybe they can even respond. That would be cool. Let's see, our Tuesday devotional meetings. We have had a lot of meaningful conversations with our participants. Most of the conversations now is initiated by the Friends of the Faith. That sounds amazing. Here it says we had a wonderful tutor reflection meeting on January 5th. That was just a couple days ago. Wonderful participation, reflection, and planning about current study circles. Wonderful. You guys, this is amazing. And I'm sure you guys are adding more that will be updated as soon as, oh, here, I think I have to press this update button. Oh, see, up here, you guys are writing. You just have to click submit and then we can see it all. We can't see it while you're editing it. Okay, so keep on adding things to this and getting inspired by it as well. So you can, oh, see, I'm gonna like these ones as well. Thank you to those people who are participating. All right. Okay, so next up, we are going to go to the next slide. We are going to share some insights. So there are a few people that have reached out that have learned some things, lots of things over the last cycle, and they are going to share. So I believe, if I can get my notes up here. First up is going to be oh, I'm going to start a timer. So this timer, you guys, is for the whole sharing of reflections piece. So we have let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that are going to share. And then we wanted to reserve about 10 minutes at the end if other people have also had some things that have happened during the this last cycle that they would like to share their insights and reflections about. So I'm just going to start this, but don't let it intimidate you. Let's see, can we have Shelly and Oscar, I believe, had something to share.
I don't know. So let's see. So the thing that Sina asked us to share was we were sharing with in some other space, which I forget what I don't know, to the reflection gathering, maybe we shared about oh, I thought we started the video. Did you stop it, Oscar? There we go. About some meaningful conversations. And so we, just a few days ago, actually, I don't know, maybe a week ago, we went to visit some friends of ours who used to live in Electric Street, but they have moved to Aloha, and we've maintained a close friendship with them, and we went to visit them, and we had recently started studying the new letter from the House of Justice about the 9-year plan, and that fourth paragraph is, so rich, and that was in my mind, but I mean, it was just parked back there, and we were talking about their daughter who had recently gained admittance to ISB, and so they were talking about all the opportunities she would have and how she needed to make the best of it, and her uncle was kind of giving her a lecture about how serious she needed to be about this and how she needed to be the best student and better than the other students. And immediately it clicked with me that I could share the concept of cooperation versus competition that was, highlighted in the beginning of the new letter. And so then the conversation totally switched around and started talking about how students can cooperate and how she needs to cooperate with her fellow students. So I just felt it really illustrated how the opportunities are just going to come at us left and right to share the concepts in this new letter, and all concepts, but that's a perfect paragraph to get lots of ideas for conversations. Thanks.
Thank you so much. That sounds absolutely wonderful. Okay, so now, also, by the way, in the chat, if you have things that you want to share because you're like, oh, I do remember this thing that happened and I learned from it, please let us know in the chat, and then we can, with that 10 minutes at the end, we can share it also. Okay, so next, I believe, is Catherine.
All right, so yeah, it's been really beautiful the last few weeks, along with a couple of other friends who are here. We really reconnected with a family that we've been friends with for almost 10 years. And this family, there are 4 kids, 3 of them are now adults, but all 4 of the kids have participated in the children's class program, the junior youth program, and or the main sequence of Institute courses over the years. And the parents have always supported the kids in participating, but there's a lot going on with work and family responsibilities, even in another country. And so it was never really very possible for the mother and then later the mother and stepfather to be fully engaged. And so over the last couple months, though, we reconnected really with the whole family. And we've had 2 very special meetings with them. And the first one, we just really spent about 3 hours catching up. But towards the end, I was very nervous and I didn't know how to start, but I just said, can I share something with you all before everyone leaves? And then everyone became very serious and sat around the table and looked at me very intently. And then I got more nervous. And then I had to say the whole thing in Spanish, which was even more nerve-wracking. So I tried a little bit to speak about the House of Justice and how the House of Justice cares about the whole world, and that the House of Justice really sees this as such an important time in human history, when there are so many challenges and so much potential. And so the House of Justice wants to hold these conferences all over the world to speak with humanity, not just Baha'is, but all of our friends. And the whole family was like, oh my goodness, yes, what can we do? How do we help? And they couldn't come to the Zoom meeting that the Beaverton Assembly then hosted a few days later. So we met again yesterday and we studied a paragraph from the September 15th letter about the conferences, and we read a little bit from the 30 December message that just came out about the 9-year plan. And it turned into this incredible fireside that their son gave about Baha'u'llah and his life and his suffering and the persecution in Iran and the Baha'i students now who can't go to university and what the Baha'i community is doing to educate young people. And like their son spoke so eloquently about everything after years of participation and independent research. It was just so inspiring to hear. And so I think something that I'm learning and trying to learn is how to create space for others to speak and to explain and to share, because he explained in a way that I couldn't. The way he talked about our relationship with Baha'u'llah and with God and how it's distinct from, like he was talking about how, oh, you know, it's not just like a saint that that the Baha'is put a picture on the wall and they just worship the saint. Like that's not what Baha'u'llah is. Baha'u'llah brought these words that have the power to change the world. And we love Baha'u'llah because he brought God's teachings. And like it was so deep the way that he was sharing with his parents about Baha'u'llah and this whole process. So I just can't wait to learn more about with Atusa's wonderful hospitality. We just created this space, and then there was this opportunity to speak for a long time about the conferences and how to share with others, and it was so beautiful.
Thank you, Catherine. Next, I think is Lonnie.
So when the Glimpses film came out, I immediately thought of friends of mine who have a young daughter. And I sent them the link. Now, of course, we're very, very good friends, so they know I'm a history professor. So I sent them the link. And I said, this is over text because I had to send the link. I said, it is, of course, the best film ever because it says history is important. And then I added, you will especially like the end. So that was in the morning. In the late afternoon, okay. So she responded in the late afternoon, nice film, Lonnie, very good message. Thanks for sharing. I said, I was deeply moved by it. And she said, yes, it's certainly a very inspiring film. And she said, responding to what I said, I was deeply moved by it. She said, yeah, true. I felt the same way. So again, this is a friend I've known for a couple of years. I knew, you know, when you're friends with someone, you share what's important to you. You share what you love. And that's what I did with her. And she responded because she loves me. She watched the film and she shared what she thought about it. And I'm going to do it after I get home today, because I'm at Jenny and Nason's. When I get home today, I'm also going to share it with another friend of mine who has a young daughter.
Okay, I guess I'm going first. All right. So during at Reiki Institute, we had a reflection every evening, and we talked a lot about like, you know, what home visits we've done, and we talked about patients and things like that. And we reflected on how with home visits and conversations alike, the more practice you have, the more natural it becomes and the easier it gets for you. So it's very important to have lots of conversations. And even if the first ones are a little more difficult, it'll become easier with time. Matt, go ahead.
Another important thing we reflected on was how to, a lot of comments of the youth were that there's a lot of discomfort around religion when it's brought up with peers. And so we discussed like, how can we get around that? How can we do something about it? And Lonnie told us that we need to build very strong friendships with those people before we can have those talks. So I thought that was a good note for people of our generation.
And it was also brought up that it's important to approach it with confidence, even if you are nervous, because if you sort of hesitate, they're less likely to be more open-minded, be more confident than they more likely to listen to. That is all we have. I'm going to mute it right now.
Thank you, you.
All right, we've got something from the Gautama team.
Yes,
And
Gautama,
Nava
go for
Arts,
it.
Feel free to jump in as well. In the last cycle, we did do home visits in the neighborhood to reestablish connection with the families. It had been a while. I think what was really beautiful to see going with Aurora and the rest of the core team was how the family's response was to seeing all of our faces and re-engaging with us. And I think it was a testament to the relationships that were established pre-COVID and how strong they were. It was like picking up after seeing them yesterday kind of deal. Part of that visit, we were able to talk about the personage of Baha'u'llah, about Abdul Baha and the significance of the centenary, and many of which were invited to either join in Zoom or in person. Unfortunately, they weren't able to join in person. I don't know if they joined any of the Zooms, but they definitely were very excited about the idea of coming. The youth have continued to do the book 5, so that's been like the most ongoing activity. And maybe aside from specific to Gautama neighborhood, another very organic space that's kind of come out of Nava and Artine walking their dogs pre-COVID or whenever it was, but they bumped into some Chinese who absolutely adored their puppies. And they were like, oh, let's play with your puppies. And then they actually started talking more. And then Nava and Artine introduced them to us. And we had our first space, which is that hot pot picture you saw. Our family was there, Byron was there, and then Rick, another Baha'i who's moved from Texas to Hillsborough not too long ago. We were all there along with, let's see, five friends of the faith.
5 friends of the faith.
So 4 of them were Chinese. So the couple that Nava and Artine introduced us to, and then they invited their friend. And then we had some other friends that we had also invited. But that night was extremely, I don't know, it was very uplifting. It was like family, everyone was extremely comfortable. There was a lot of organic teaching that happened. Everyone just naturally split off and had really good conversations.
Everybody cooked together. There was a very, I think, sort of communal feeling because there were some relationships that were built and everybody was just very comfortable with each other. So everybody was cooking Chinese hot pot together. It was almost like a family in a kitchen and everybody contributing. And I think it was just amazing to see how many meaningful conversations and the depth of conversations that totally organically just took place on that day. There were conversations about progressive revelation. There were conversations about the center of the covenant and the example of Abdul Baha. So this was shortly prior to our centennial celebration. And as part of this same gathering, we got to invite everybody and give out invitations to our centennial gathering in Hillsborough, which happened shortly after this night. I think one reflection that is kind of profound is looking back, it's interesting to see how a seemingly random conversation with somebody on the side of the street about their dogs led to something like this, led to a group of about 10 or 15 people coming together in a home and having elevated conversations about the faith, about the community building process. It's just very interesting kind of how that all unfolded, and speaks to the importance of being intentional with our relationships and with how we talk about these things. So
There's been a few, I think we've only met like 2 or 3 times so far. We're going to meet again in a week or two, but there's definitely interest in book 1. There's been initial conversations around that. So I think that's going to come up pretty organically sometime soon as well. You two, anything to share?
I think that's great.
Nav on our team, anything to add?
No, not real. Maybe a little thing. Like, I think kind of along the lines of what you talked about in terms of these opportunities to have these meaningful conversations, and invite people to that upcoming Holy Day that we had. I think personally, me and Ava had a lot of opportunities to invite our neighbors, some of my professors, some of our old friends to the Holy Day. And we found that even those that couldn't make it, it was still a success because we were able to have those conversations, and it kind of opened the door to maybe some more meaningful conversations in the future. So I think, yeah, that was just a reflection for me that, you know, if you're inviting someone to something or you have hopes of them coming and it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that it's a failure, because you already opened the door for those conversations and you can just build upon it. And with these conferences that we have coming up, it's just a great opportunity to maybe reconnect and kind of further that conversation that you might have already had with those individuals. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Kachama. Yes, we have a message in the chat that's one. It says, notice the common thread in these stories is one about building sincere, meaningful relationships first that can become springboards. Yeah, definitely. You guys are amazing. Okay, so next we are going to, Carmel is going to talk about our kind of goals that we have set and our progress towards them. So go ahead, Carmel.
Yes, hello everyone. So I'm just going to share a little bit about what this says really on the screen. But at the last cluster reflection meeting, there was, like as it says, 202 devotional gatherings, 40 study circles, 8 junior youth groups, and 11 children's classes. This cluster reflection meeting, the current data reflects 208 devotional gatherings, 45 study circles, 10 junior youth groups, and 10 children's classes. And at the goals for the next 1 or 2 cycles in terms of the activities is to reach 400 devotional gatherings, have 60 study circles, 20 junior youth groups, and 20 children's classes, which is quite a bit of growth. But it also notes that also obviously more firesides, deepenings, and meaningful conversations and such, or spaces like, just like kind of how Shireen and Navid and Arti and you guys are just sharing as well. Also, one second, sorry. Yes, so we wanted to note too that these goals coming up are really connected with the upcoming conferences and the conversations we're having surrounding the conferences with our friends. So we don't want to see them as separate things. So as we have conversations with the friends about the conferences, this also hopefully contributes to the community building activity goals in terms that they maybe increases participation or helps form new activities. So I like to, as Sina has mentioned before, and I've heard some other people mention before, that looking at inviting participants to people to the conferences is not really just that one invitation, kind of like how Artin was saying, like even if people didn't come, like it still opens a path for people to participate. And so it's really like a big teaching plan that we have for our friends. Like we're inviting them not only to participate in the conferences, but also to join this process and be a part of our community. So we wanted to keep that in mind. So hopefully that will spring a lot of growth to reach these goals in the next couple cycles, especially as we have those conferences in mind and the this fresh letter to help us think about the start of the 9-year plan. So, yes.
Thank you, Carmel. I think you are also doing the next slide too, but there is a question in the chat of if we are having a devotional gathering that maybe we haven't shared that information to be counted, who can we share that information to? So the quick answer is your LSA, your ATC. I believe that maybe somebody can in the chat put in an email address.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
I will put the ATC email address and my phone number. You can always email or text me or notify your LSA, but it directly to me would be honestly that would be great. Let me do that right now. My name's Sina, by the way.
Okay, Carmel, I did switch the slide if you want to go to the next part.
Yes. So some of the coordinators, myself, Mara, and Saba, if there's a lot of people at this reflection meeting today, which is wonderful. So I don't even know if I've personally met or had very many conversations with everyone. So I am Carmel, and I am currently the study circle coordinator for our cluster. And Saba is the junior youth coordinator, and Mara is the children's class coordinator. So based on those numbers and the growth that has happened over the last cycle, we wanted to share a few insights on what has contributed to this growth. So we'll each share for each of the imperatives, but I will share a little bit about the study circles. I just wanted to note that I think a lot of growth has emerged mostly in the number of tutors of youth across the cluster. So as you can see, there's a wonderful youth team that is on Zoom right now, and a wonderful group of tutors that is supporting them. So over the last couple cycles, really a few cycles, there's been a huge growth in the number of tutors who are specifically tutoring youth and really helping engage youth. Previously, there wasn't as many tutors that were working with youth, but now that I just made a list recently, and that list like grew a lot. I didn't even realize until I made that list. But that I think has been a huge contributor to the growth. Also, the appearance of teams, tutors working together in teams, has been really helpful so that they can support each other and contribute to more growth. And also there are some wonderful tutors across the cluster who just also start book ones out of their own volition with their friends or neighbors or colleagues, coworkers, whoever they might be, who they just really have the desire to teach, and they just form a book one with them really on their own volition and without much support, and they just have a lot of courage and go for it, and that has been wonderful too. Other than that, yeah, those are some of the most notable things I can think of. There are also many, obviously everyone is doing many other things. There are Bahar is participating in the higher sequence as well. So yes, that is that. If Saba or Mara.
I can share.
Yeah.
So like Carmel said, I'm the junior youth coordinator for our cluster. And so if you look at the last slide, you would have noticed that last cycle we had 8 junior youth groups, and now we have 10. So we grew, our 2 new junior youth groups formed this cycle. Both of them were in the Menlo pocket of the South Central Beaverton neighborhood. And so kind of just thinking about the insights about how like new groups are forming or how groups are being supported, similar to what Carmel was sharing about teams of tutors working together. We're currently also trying to learn about how animators can work together in supporting each other's groups and reflecting and planning and studying. And so right now I'm trying to help kind of create these animator teams in the different parts of our cluster so that, you know, these junior youth groups don't feel isolated and feel like they're part of a bigger program. And so right now we're really trying to learn about how these animators can work in teams. I also wanted to mention that in order to grow to 20 junior youth groups in the next 1 to 2 cycles, we're going to need a lot of help and support. But the way that I think we're going to reach this goal is by learning how to have multiple like grades of junior youth groups. So for example, let's say there's a junior youth group happening in an apartment complex and there's 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders. If it, animator team, there's a sufficient amount of animators that are able to support all the junior youth in the apartment complex, and they could have 3 different groups, for example, 1 for 6th graders, 1 for 7th graders, 1 for 8th graders. Maybe they meet at the same time and divide for study, depending on, the growth of the group. But yeah, I was thinking that, or there's a lot of experience worldwide about having these multiple grades of junior youth that can really help contribute towards the expansion of the program and just, really consolidating the efforts there. And the last thing I wanted to mention, as coordinators, we were looking through our statistics about just how many Baha'is are in like junior youth groups or in study circles or in children's classes. And so my number might be a little off, but it's kind of close. If not, it is right. But there's about 17 Baha'i junior youth who live in our cluster, and only 6 of them are in junior youth groups. So another way to help expand the number of participants and just to, think about the development of all the Baha'i junior youth, we can try and think about how all of the junior youth in our cluster can be, part of a junior youth group. So yeah, please let me know if your son or daughter who is a junior youth and wants to be in a group and needs assistance. Yeah, you can always contact me and we can try and figure something out. But yeah, so 11 of 17 are not currently in a junior youth group. And it would be awesome if we had all the junior youth in our cluster, or Baha'i junior youth in our cluster, be in a junior youth group. So yeah.
Also on that, Sabah, I think one thing that maybe is also a reflection is that it's helpful when those junior youth transition to B15, then to get them as like a cohort in the institute is proven to be nice for them, because then they have that support group of their friends to be able to do that with.
And they have an understanding about the institute process going into it too.
Yeah.
So yes, please let me know.
Okay, so I think next we are going to
Mara's also going to share something.
Oh, Mara. Okay, sorry. I'll go back.
I'll just be quick because it's not anything too revolutionary. That most of the growth has come from classes that have reformed that COVID has disrupted, and so there's efforts now to reform some of those. And a few of the part of the loss has to do with some of the online classes consolidating, because more of the classes are going back into in person, and those who want to remain online are consolidating into online classes. But the opportunity, as Sabah was talking about, is there are many Baha'i children that at least according to my statistics, are not in a class. So I'm going to be talking with the assemblies to see how we can collaborate and make sure all the children have a place to go and a place to be. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, so Atusa is going to share about our plans for this cycle.
Dear friend, Allah Pa, Atusa is here. So wonderful to see you all. Such a beautiful, beautiful gathering today. And special thanks to the wonderful youth. That was a beautiful devotional. I truly appreciate that. There's lots of excitement going on, and I'm gonna keep up and with the excitement, sharing lots exciting dates with you. Are you guys all ready? Adding to your calendar. So we are going to have a planning phase, January 10 through 12. Expansion phase is going to start January 13th through 27th. And then after that, consolidation phase is going to be started at January 28 through April 15. And the next cluster reflection meeting is going to be on April 16 at the same time, I believe, from 10 till 12. Are you guys making sure put that on your calendar? And I believe it's going to be, Jenny, now time for 5 minutes break. Or should I announce this and we go to the break and then go to the breakout session?
I think we'll do a break now, but before we do that, so the next thing is we're gonna study some guidance, and I know a lot of you guys are in like gathered together in teams, and then some of you are not. So it's during the break, I'm going to try to group into breakout sessions according to like geographic region.
We were all waiting in the break of the cluster reflection gathering. Sarveen and Atusa were waiting patiently. Tia Hansen was laughing to herself. The youth disappeared and Bahman turned off his camera doing I don't know what. Oh, be back. I'm done then, I'm done.
That is true musical talent.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
That's what I've seen as musical talent, serenading people.
Don't quit your day job, buddy.
What is it? He said, don't quit your day job, buddy.
Who said that? Oh, thank you, Batman. I won't. Trust me. I could. You can't keep me here. The love in my heart is too great. This world gives me no fear. This fire will burn all the darkness away, and I will give it all to you. My life, I would give it to, 'cause all I want is to be close to you. I prayed for weeks on end, till one day you appeared in a mighty vision. You said my desire would be fulfilled, and I will give it all for you. My life, I would give it to, 'cause all I was to be close with you.
Okay, so this is paragraph 4 from the message, the December 30th message. I'm going to, in the chat, I put a link to the message online. So if you want to have this paragraph, it's paragraph 4 in that message. So if you click on the link, you can scroll down to paragraph 4. It is the one that starts the enkindled souls. Okay. So I will also in the chat put these 2 questions for our guided study so that you have those as well. So the first question is, what are some of the characteristics of the enkindled souls who are being raised up by the processes of the plan? So the characteristics of those souls. And then the second question is, if you get to it, because maybe you're just going to talk about the first one forever. How is the power of the cause transforming people's social existence and inner lives?
Hello, everyone. So yes, we all know about the conferences coming up this coming spring. So we thought we'd give probably the next portion of our cluster reflection gathering on the conferences. And after this cluster reflection gathering, there's 3 days of the planning phase where we're thinking, there's 3 days of the planning phase where we're gonna, plan the rest of the cycle essentially. But after that is the expansion phase for 2 weeks. And we wanted to create a space for everyone in the cluster who maybe doesn't have a team or isn't would like to work with people on their expansion phase plans in regard to maybe having conversations with friends about the conferences. So we're going to create we have 3 different spaces throughout the expansion phase. The first one here is January 13th from 7 to 8 p.m. and they'll all be over Zoom. And essentially what we're going to do in these spaces is just pray for the people that we're thinking about and having conversations to invite them to the conferences eventually, and maybe study some guidance from books 2, 6 about what kind of conversations we could have and make plans to actually make these conversations, whether being phone calls or actually visiting them in person. So that's what we're going to do at these spaces. And it's for anyone in the cluster. So the first one is January 13th from 7 to 8. We're also hoping we're going to contact the assemblies to do this for part of the feast, which are going to happen from either the 17th to the 18th, depending on the community. And then the next space is going to be January 22nd, which is a little bit more than halfway through the expansion phase. And that's a Saturday. I think January 13th is a Thursday, from 10 to 11 a.m. on that Saturday. And then the last space, January 26th from 7 to 8 p.m. And I think that is a Wednesday. So put this in your calendar. There will be Zoom meetings, and I'll send out an email as well with links for all these spaces. Yeah, and hopefully this doesn't mean that different teams can't have their own spaces. This is just for collective space for the cluster. Yeah. So we thought it'd be helpful to kind of go over what we know about the conferences and what resources are out there in regard to information about the conferences. And I think what we can share with our friends about the conferences, just to note that the Universal House of Justice wants to share this message with everyone, to all of society. So it isn't limited to anyone, it's for everyone. So the resources that we can use in regard to talking about the conferences, there is the September 15th letter that was sent out to National Spiritual Assemblies about just announcing the conferences and directly speaking about the logistics of the conferences. But if you look at paragraph 2 in that message, it talks about all the different concepts that are going to, please email out. I'll email out those cluster dates, Chris. Yes. Anyway, that paragraph 2 talks a lot about what what is kind of going to go, what we're going to go over in the conferences, or what the plans are. It's pretty generic, but it has certain concepts about what's going to be talked about. And then Jenny, do you mind clicking on the Chicago resource? I thought maybe we could read this. There's a wonderful resource. I think it was developed by a spiritual assembly in Chicago. So I think it would be really helpful to just kind of read this, and I'll send this out as well. And it kind of gives us a little bit of information in plain language that we can use to talk about these conferences. So maybe if I have a volunteer that can actually read this, that would be wonderful. Or I can choose. I shall select Roya Cone. Do you mind reading, Roya? Thank you so much. You're muted.
Sorry, I was doing a couple of things, including talking to my teenager at the same time.
Sorry, you don't have to read if you don't want to.
No, it's fine. I'm available now.
Okay, thank you.
What is the goal of the conferences? Attract millions of people at the grassroots across the region and around the world so that they partake in a collective pattern of activity that foster a vibrant community life in villages and cities everywhere. Who will be invited to the conferences? Given that millions of people at the grassroots across the globe are engaged in a collective pattern of activity that fosters a vibrant community life in villages and cities, the conferences should be organized such that as many of these friends as possible are able to attend. In many places, whole families will participate, and special programs for children and junior youth will be necessary. What themes can I use to talk about the conferences while awaiting final plans? In order to communicate the vision of the Universal House of Justice in language that everyone can understand, you may wish to study the letter to familiarize yourself with the main themes of the conferences and consult with friends on how best to invite others. For example, you could say that these global conferences will give new spiritual energy to addressing the conditions of the world. We'll start a 9-year global effort that will address problems communities around the world currently face. We'll offer rich devotional spaces, are part of a continuing community development process that has been going on for the past 25 years and now includes 5,000 communities around the world. We'll bring, we'll bring together the diverse cultural elements of a global community in loving fellowship. We'll bring together people of all ages to experience joyful expressions of art, are part of ongoing effort to create new ways for individuals, institutions, and community members to work together to transform society, offer hope for building vibrant communities, offer hope and certainty that God's plan is unfolding for all of humanity and that we have the privilege of being part of it. These are a few examples of language that individuals might use to describe the themes of the conferences. Individuals and small groups of friends are free to consult on language that suits their local circumstances based on their study of the September 15th letter.
Thank you, Roya June. Yes, Kotama team. This is a wonderful resource that I think can be very helpful in when you actually want to make the invitation to the friends, and I will send this out after this gathering with those dates as well. The other resource, you can click on it, Jenny. We won't read it, but it's just on how to make a list if you haven't already done so. It was developed by a team in Eugene. If you scroll down, Jenny, just all the way down, that kind of just shows the this is just an example of how to make a list. If you haven't done so, I mean, we were trying to get the numbers by tomorrow, hopefully by tonight, so then I don't have to do it tomorrow. you can use this resource as well. So we don't have to go over this, but just knowing that it also talks a little bit about the conferences. Yeah. And then the last resource that is very new resource that you can use is the new movie that came out called Glimpses of 100 Years Endeavor. I haven't seen it myself. I heard it's very wonderful, and it talks a lot about what's happened over the past 100 years in the Baha'i worldwide community. So that is like, maybe you could invite friends to watch that movie with you, and I think it would give a lot of insight about what the Baha'i community has been doing. So, and the last thing I wanted to just share is that these conferences is a very special opportunity, and not just to think about, just to simply invite our friends to a conference, but I think the Universal House of Justice has really given this opportunity so that all the Baha'is in the world can be very systematic in their own personal teaching plans. And I'm really glad that our team shared this earlier, but it isn't just, it's not like we're just trying to get people to come to a conference and that if they don't come, it's a failure. But realistically, it's to help us have more and more conversations with our friends and engage in our own personal teaching plans. So that's really the goal of the conferences, is to help teach our friends. So yeah. So now we're actually going to go to the same breakout rooms to really think about the conferences more in depth. So when we do join these breakout rooms, we'll kind of go over our own list and see if people haven't already made lists, then that can be the start of the space. So make sure that everyone in your space has made a list, and if not, to make a list. And then the next thing you'll do is to make plans or next steps during the expansion phase. And that could just be like dates on when you are going to have these conversations, or what you want to talk about, or if you can get together with friends to have conversations together. So just next steps on how you're actually going to go about in making conversations with people. And then if time allows, is to explore themes and topics of conversations that you will have next with each of these individuals, keeping in mind that the goal is to invite them to the conferences by spring. And then to practice, maybe 2 people can practice having a conversation by role playing. So 3 things. 1 is to make a list if you haven't done so, to those who haven't done so. Then make plans during the expansion phase, which can just be dates on when you're going to give a call to a friend or have a conversation. And then to practice, to think about what concepts you could talk about, and then actually maybe 1 or 2 people can actually role play.
Thank you all for participating in that breakout room. If there is anything to share, we have like not a whole lot of time, but if there is anything that you want to share, like plans that you made, questions that you have, you can type that in the chat and let everybody know. Also, the ATC would love to hear plans you have made. So the email of our ATC secretary is on your screen. You can email us or your LSA, obviously. And if you had some time to make your lists, you can also, if you haven't yet, let your LSA and ATC know how many people are on your list, so that we can give that information to the regional people who are planning the conferences. So next we're going to turn it over to Arnold. Yes, Mara says, please email both the ATC and LSA secretaries. And Sina says, you can also text him. There's Sina's phone number. Okay, so Arnold, would you, our beloved auxiliary board member, would you like to say anything before we close?
All right. So anyway, I think first of all, let's join all together to thanks our dear, very active, energetic area teaching committee for putting all these efforts and efforts together for this wonderful program for today. It is really heart dilating, friends, to be with you. This is my first CRM, I think, in OR 26. And it's inspiring to hear all of your energies, your experiences, those sharing that you did is really inspiring. And you know, friends, we have only 2 cycles left, or maybe after this cycle, we have 1 more cycle. We're almost at the end of the crossroads of this current plan, the 12-month plan. And as I think Carmel presented those goals that yet to be won. Yeah, it's almost doubling all the activities, the core activities that we are currently have at the moment. And I think each one of us here have a play, whether you're youth, elder, or whatever, children, has an important role to play in achieving this goal. As Shugi Effendi said, that we are the warp and the woof of the fabric of the society. And so what else I can say? Mount your steeds, O heroes of God. And you know what, friends, when I was reading this 9-year plan, and then when it comes to the first provision, which is the movement of the cluster, and how important the most important key role of the milestone 3 cluster. And then the first thing it came to my mind is Beaverton, Washington cluster. And then I said, oh, what can be this cluster still can do for the 9-year plan, for the teaching and consolidation of the faith? And you know, friends, you are all the eyewitness to the rise in the capacity in your cluster, in this wonderful cluster. And with confidence, you know what we can still further accomplish before the end of this plan and the 9-year plan. But similar to the other plans that we had, it's not easy. The demand of the 9-year plan looks like there's a lot of the demands of the 9-year plan. It may test our stamina. It may test our willpower. And even it may test our strength of love to those that we work with, right? But as we persevere to do some service in our cluster, and maybe beyond the cluster, because that is the demand of the 9-year plan for milestone 3, like what we have in Beaverton and Washington. As we persevere to serve, we will learn that we will recognize the power of unity. We will we can also find sanctuary among our friends, our family, and to our institutions, to our cluster agencies and institutions. And above all, we will realize about as the Universal House of Justice mentioned, about the spirit of collaboration and mutual assistance. These are essential for the progress of the plan ahead. But of course, when we say collaboration, this is still, I think, an area, although we keep repeating it, we're doing it now, but we still have a lot of things to explore on how we can collaborate with our ATCs to the local spiritual assembly to the other agencies of the cluster, and well, to your auxiliary board member. But rest assured that we are always here. Our support, we are 24/7. If there's anything that we can do, please feel free to do so. Thank you very much. Yeah, and hope to have more gatherings like this. It's really inspiring. It's inspired me. My spirit is soaring at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Arnold. So the very last thing that we have is we are going to close with a video. It's the very last like 5 or so minutes of the Glimpses video that has been inspiring to those of us that have watched it, and maybe it'll inspire you to also right after this meeting go and watch it.
It is a story almost as old as time itself. Even before she was born, they tried to make her disappear like a magic trick. But her presence was noted, if only in her absence. When she was born, instead of sharing sweets, they shared ribbon-tied bags of sorrow. And when she received the smallest, the least, and the last, or often none at all. Food, comfort, education, respect. If she went to school, she had to be careful to not learn too much, to not speak too much, to not be seen too much. She must not take up too much space. She must make herself smaller and smaller, fold herself into shapes that are quiet, restrained, contained. Learn that her own body is not a safe house for her soul. But now, with this new revelation, a new story is being written. A story that unravels all the stories of the past. A story where women stand side by side with men. Even before she is born, there is celebration for the anticipation of a brand new soul. When she is born, the family, the village, the city, the nation rejoice. She will receive food, comfort, education, respect. She will go to school. She has so much to learn, to understand, to speak of, to teach. She will grow and she will grow. She will breathe and she will dream. And she will do and she will know that her voice is powerful. She will arise. She will unfold from shapes that are quiet, restrained, contained, until her family, her village, her city, her nation too will blossom.
Today, after a full century of collective efforts, we are beginning to see the treasures of wisdom hidden in Abdu'l-Baha's will and testament and the tablets of the divine plan. Millions of women and men are turning their hearts to the example of Abdu'l-Baha and are striving to follow in his footsteps. Little by little, day by day, they seek to align their inner and outer lives with the teachings of Baha'u'llah and are consciously working towards building a prosperous and peaceful global civilization.
It's incredible what's been achieved in 100 years. I wonder what the next 100 years will look like.
Well, that depends on us.
We all have a part to play.
Our actions will influence the future. I guess I shouldn't give up on my junior youth group.
And you with your children's class.
And me with this study circle.
You have written the story of the unfoldment of the divine plan on the scroll of its first century. Before you, beloved friends, lies stretched out the blank scroll of the future, on which you and your spiritual descendants will inscribe fresh and lasting deeds of renunciation and heroism for the betterment of the world.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
That was amazing. Thank you.
Bye-bye.